associated with drift injury to adjacent crops and non-target areas from pesticide drift.
That's today's Focus on the Field with Bridgette Readel, your ag industry expert. Tune in for Bridgette's Ag News updates each weekday here on WDAY. 970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM, Fargo-Moorhead.
And welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday afternoon, 1:13 right now in the afternoon. Temperatures in the teens outside Fargo. Wind not too bad out there, so it's not causing too bad of wind chills, but we'll touch on that forecast just in a moment. But looks like some nice temperatures on their way for the valley over the next couple of days before the potential for a pretty significant storm system. I'll touch on that later on. And Bridgette, I know you're going to want to know details about it because this might end up impacting some of the travel that you have planned into next week, isn't it?
It could, and I want to point out once again, this is all about me. I need you guys to make sure my travel schedule is clear, which I'm sure will help many others in our listening area. How's that sound?
Yes, so we'll take a look at that here in just a moment. And I'm meteorologist Justin Storm with our ag director from WDAY, Bridgette Readel, and we're just glad you're joining us for here Weather and Ag in Focus today. I want to thank those that did tune in yesterday for our LRC Winter Weather Outlook from 2 to 5 o'clock. It was a pretty interesting conversation we had there with Gary Lezak, and a lot of information that we were able to talk about over those couple hours. A lot of people called in with questions, and if you sent me or Dean an email, just be patient. We'll get to them. I've answered a good handful today, but I still got about 30 unread emails in my inbox, so just give me a couple days. I'll get to them. Just need a little bit of time to get to all those. But fun things on the show today. Returning guest Brett Kenzy, National President of It's RCAF USA. So we had him on, and we were talking about, I forget what the acronym it was, Bridgette, but it was about the labeling on meat from overseas.
So the acronym is MCOOL, and it's in regards to country of origin labeling, and that's one of the things that we can talk about with Brett. But also, there's some other things that RCAF are talking about, and especially when it comes to they're encouraging U.S. Department of Agriculture not to tie the RFID ear tags into the livestock indemnity regulations. I would have to say we're going to walk through some of those questions with Brett. And he's a cattleman in South Dakota. So for those who have questions about how that might differ and what they're doing down south versus some of our producers up here, this is a great opportunity to ask those questions and get involved. And we'll probably want to recap what the things are that we talked about yesterday on our LRC special. And for those of you who are listening and maybe you have some of those questions, you can reach us at 701-293-9000. And we've got plenty of topics to talk about. I personally right now am at the Prairie Grains Conference here in Grand Forks, North Dakota, and would be happy to share information with folks as well.
Yeah, this is going to be very fun. So we'll talk about what you're doing up there and what's going on in Grand Forks, as well as the forecast and so many topics. So stay tuned because Weather and Ag in Focus will be right back. But first, we'll get you updated on the latest news and headlines from ABC News.
From ABC News, I'm Derek Dennis. Voting now, House lawmakers set to approve legislation to codify same-sex marriage rights into federal law. The move bolsters the 2015 Supreme Court ruling that legalized same-sex marriage nationwide. The bill passed the Senate last week. Once approved, it'll go to President Biden's desk for his signature. Brittany Griner coming home right now, released from Russian captivity, and a one-to-one prisoner exchange for convicted Russian arms dealer Victor Bout. President Biden with Griner's wife Sherelle at the White House.
I'm glad to be able to say that Brittany's in good spirits. She's relieved to finally be heading home. And the fact remains that she's lost months of her life, experienced a needless trauma, and she deserves space, privacy, and time with her loved ones to recover and heal.
Still being held by Russia, another American, Paul Whelan.
A very strong statement from Paul Whelan's brother David saying they're very glad to see Brittany Griner on her way home. They can't imagine the joy that her family and she will be feeling to be reunited with her loved ones. But of course, they are incredibly disappointed that Paul will not be home and very frustrated at the fact that he was not not part of this release today.
ABC's Karen Travers. President Biden says his administration will not stop its efforts to bring Whelan home, just like Brittany Griner. Health officials reporting a serious surge of the triple-demic, the flu, COVID, and RSV cases, filling 80% of the nation's adult hospital beds, along with other concerns.
Some Americans looking for those over-the-counter cold and flu treatments are finding empty shelves at pharmacies and drugstores. Now, that's largely because this wave of respiratory illnesses came earlier than usual, and stores are now racing to keep up.
ABC's Justin Finch. History made in the small rural town of Earl, Arkansas. An 18-year-old named Jalen Smith just elected as mayor, the youngest black mayor ever in the U.S. You're listening to ABC News.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high-commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
Fair Meadow Nursing Home in Fertile, Minnesota is expanding their team, and they're looking for you. If you're looking for a great career in nursing as a CNA, LPN, housekeeping aide, or dietary aide, check out their new wage scale, shift differential pay, benefits, and free premium for single health plan for 30-plus hours a week, flexible schedule, great retirement, and more. Be part of their dynamic interdisciplinary team environment. Apply in person or visit their Facebook page at Fair Meadow Nursing Home and Assisted Living, Fertile, Minnesota.
Your best source for news, weather, and sports, and all things happening here in Fargo-Moorhead is WDAY Midday. That's right. Join me, News Director Kyle Cornell, and my news team as we tell the stories you want to hear about that affect you.
Showcasing the best of the best and who's the most innovative.
We hopefully will have adequate parking for the flying public here for years to come.
So make sure to turn that dial to WDAY Midday. It's weekdays from 11 to 1 right here on AM 970 and FM 93.1 WDAY.
You did it again, Fargo-Moorhead. Thanks for voting Fix It Forward Auto Care the best auto care of Red River Valley 3 years in a row, including the categories of Best Tire Retailer and Best Customer Service. Plus, Fix It Forward Ministry won Best Local Nonprofit. We're honored and we promise to continue serving our great community, providing you the best auto care experiences. Fix It Forward Auto Care, the name you trust for car repair.
Fix It Forward Auto Care.
Save now on premium mattresses, pillows, bases, and linens at Accord Comfort Sleep Systems directly across from Olive Garden. Find the best mattress design and construction with our exclusive technologies such as our Accord Comfort Reflex Layer, ensuring proper spinal alignment. Our Thermodyne climate control fabric is perfect for the couple sleeping hot and cold. Buy today and take it home today, or free delivery in the FM metro area. Accord Comfort Sleep Systems. You're going to love sleeping with us.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us. 1:11 right now in the afternoon, 15 degrees outside Fargo. Some sunshine around the area. It's really nice and refreshing compared to the bone-chilling one above it was yesterday for a high. We were below zero for, I think, just about all day until about 9 o'clock at night. We finally saw temperatures reach about 2 degrees by midnight. So just a cold day, and thankfully warmer temperatures are on the way. But before we touch on that forecast, Bridgette, you're a long way away from home. You're up in my neck of the woods. What's going on up here in Grand Forks today at the Alaris Center?
I think I should have just come over and hung out at your office. That would have been probably just as easy today for us, right?
You know, I think that would have worked out pretty well.
So I am at the Alaris Center today because it is the Prairie Grains Conference. This is an annual conference that started yesterday. It started out with the annual meeting for the Certified Crop Advisors Board. Additionally, we have this trade show today and seminars that are sponsored by the Minnesota Wheat Growers Association, also the North Dakota Grain Growers Association, and the North Dakota Canola Growers. Actually, it's the Northern Plains Canola Growers. They cover a couple of states. They're all here, and I'm seeing a pile of farmers. I have a lot of retailers in the university folks are here presenting, as well as other crop consultants. It's a really great turnout. A good mix of people, lots of networking and discussions. It's been I think kind of that time where folks are done combining and they're getting that chance to discuss how the crop looked. And when you get to the northern end of the Red River Valley, you are now in an area where it's not just small grains. We have folks here who are talking about canola, grass is grown for seed, ryegrass, sunflowers, soybeans, pretty much everything is on the table to, as folks talk about their crops. So it's pretty neat atmosphere over here.
Oh, I bet. And how long has this been going on for up here in Grand Forks? How many years?
I better go find a sheet because I bet it's been at least 20. This is a meeting that I'm familiar with. They did their banquet last night and got a chance to really have a great guest speaker and to visit. It's been a good day. I've been able to see marketing folks that have talked about input costs. We've seen some discussions about fertilizer pricing and logistics, and maybe it's time for farmers to consider not just buying fertilizer once a year, but on a twice a year basis or more often as prices really fluctuate on those inputs. Then additionally, I saw a discussion this morning about cover crops and tillage and how that may or may not work for specific farming regions in our area. Different topics of conversation. If you are a certified crop advisor, by attending some of these seminars, you get CEUs, continuing education units as well. So it's a good place to start a day meeting. It's working out great.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And how's the cover crop conversation been going? What kind of situations is that going to work better in than, say, something else?
Boy, cover crop has been a discussion that's ongoing for probably about the last 8-9 years. It doesn't work on every farm. Now, I know that there's someone out there who's probably saying, Bridgette, you're wrong. It works everywhere. But when you talk to an individual farmer who knows their land extremely well, they'll tell you that not every instance, not every piece of ground is where they need to put a cover crop. Maybe it's erodible. Perhaps they have some things that they're doing first is like that precursor where they're tiling, etc. So this is a conversation that you need to have with your crop consultant, or if you're in a partnership on your farm, and to decide where's it going to be the best fit, how should we go about using cover crop. And you might not want to jump in immediately with the whole farm, but take a step-by-step approach. Look at it on each field basis to decide where cover crops fit for you, how they can help with moisture management. Maybe you want some snowfall, or your cropping system gets really wet if you're up along the river and you need to draw moisture out of it. There's a couple of reasons why you might want to use cover crop. So a lot of discussion points to be had, not a one and done.
I see, and Bridgette, I'm sorry to inform you, but it kind of sounds like your connection's kind of starting to cut out just a little bit again. So we're gonna get into a break here. We're gonna get our guest all lined up today, and we'll get Bridgette reconnected up with us so we can have her rejoin our conversation with Brett Kenzy, National President of RCAF USA. We're going to be talking a little bit about what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago when Brett was on with us originally, about what's going on with the labeling of USA meat or not USA meat is what we actually found out. And we're also going to find out how they're kind of against the whole RFID on the ear tags and the livestock. So we're going to figure out exactly what's going on with Brett Kenzy, National President of RCAF USA. And we'd love for you to join in on the conversation. If you have a question or a comment or something you just want to join in our conversation, reach out to us. It's your opportunity. 701-293-9000. Ask me, Bridgette, something, or ask our Brett Kenzy a question. Again, President of RCAF. We're going to get him all squared away, and then Weather and Ag in Focus will return.
God, I'm so stressed about my business not being ready for the holidays.
Ooh, Ma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the UMA cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
UMA?
Yep. Switching to UMA is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
UMA.
Now you're feeling it. Visit UMA.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. UMA. Smart communications for the smarter business.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything, and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
For 103 years, Wimmer's Diamonds has been helping you celebrate special moments. Celebrate the precious little addition to your family. Celebrate that exceptional achievement. And celebrate love. We invite you to visit us at our inviting new showroom and let us help you find that perfect, beautiful reminder to celebrate your special moments of love. Wimmers, 4582 32nd Avenue South in Fargo.
Hey, it's Jay Thomas for your local liquor store, Bottle Barn Liquors, with locations in Fargo and West Fargo. They are one stop away from anywhere and everywhere you're going. They're perfect for events you're hosting, grabbing gifts for, and just right for every occasion. They have selections of the latest wines and spirits as well as supplies you may need, like cups, ice, drink mixes, and more, and hundreds of brands including beer, liquor, and premium cigars. They are a one-stop shop, so tell them Jay sent you. South University Drive or Veterans Boulevard in my hometown of West Fargo.
Finish your weekday strong at O'Kelly's with happy hour specials from 3 to 6 p.m. Save $2 on all apps and $1 off all wells and taps. Enjoy delicious Southwest egg rolls or the full plate nachos built right with the works on top, just to name a few. And if you're out a little later, enjoy those same specials 9 p.m. to close. $2 off all apps and $1 off all wells and taps. 3 to 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. to close every weekday at O'Kelly's, just off I-29 in Main Avenue. O'Kelly's, delicious food priced right. I-29 in Main in Fargo.
After 38 years of serving the FM area, the Hobby Hut is closing its doors. Their going out of business sale is wrapping up. Their last day is December 15th, and you can still find 60% off lots of model paint, model railroad supplies, and radio control car parts and accessories. So if you're looking for any of those items, you got to check it out, Hobby Hut. Take advantage of their going out of business sale, which ends December 15th. At the Hobby Hut, between IHOP and Home Depot, just off 45th Street and 17th Avenue South in Fargo. The Hobby Hut.
Pucklet Chevrolet Buick GMC in Valley City makes it easy to find your next Chevrolet Buick GMC or pre-owned vehicle by offering a great selection at our best prices possible.
And welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette Readel along with meteorologist Justin Storm. And today on our guest, we've got Brett Kenzy. Brett is indeed a rancher from South Dakota. He is also the national president of RCAF USA. And honestly, we just have a lot of great questions to ask about a guy who raises cows because Justin wants to, but Grand Forks City isn't going to really allow him to start doing that anytime soon. So there's good questions and comments there that we can certainly ask. But Brett, I know as a return guest, you answered this question, but I'm going to ask it again. Tell us about RCAF USA for those who are unfamiliar with your organization.
Well, we're America's largest producer-led cattle group, and that means that to be a voting member in our organization, you have to own cattle to vote on policy. And we think that's a really big distinction. We kind of consider ourselves to be the standard bearer of what's truly wrong with our industry and what truly needs to be done to restore competition and transparency into our industry. Some people say that we're radical, but I guess I would counter that with the idea that America itself is kind of a radical idea. We're a young nation. We began with some pretty strong fundamentals that really got us off to a good start, and I would say transformed the world, and we're kind of a group that wants to return to some of those fundamentals.
I think that's a pretty accurate description, Brett, and I really appreciate the fact that you're always willing to come back and visit with us, because after we got done talking the last time, we all hung up our phones, and Justin and Dean said, we got to talk to that guy again, because we like what he has to say, and we think that the organization's going in the right direction. So good news, you're like a star performer.
There were so many things that we were going to talk about, and we spent the whole segment just talking about, I believe it was MCool, right?
You bet. And I apologize. Sometimes I can't catch my own breath, but it was
a great conversation. Why don't we revisit that really quickly? Because I know we want to move on to the RFID tags, but why don't we just kind of recap what is MCool and what is it that you guys are fighting for with it?
Well, I'll try to be brief. Mandatory country of origin labeling it's a law that it took a long time to get passed, and really it was a response to free trade and increased imports, just to allow American fed cattle to compete with the imported beef that was coming in. In 2014, it was challenged by the World Trade Organization and ruled to be anti-competitive, but it was never properly arbitrated. The repeal of MCool was tucked into an omnibus spending package. A lot of people didn't even know how they were voting on MCool. They voted to fund the government and killed MCool. And we've seen our markets fall further and faster from that repeal. And really, we still haven't recovered to this current date to the price levels of cattle. Even now, now we're going into another drought scenario, which is some of what helped push the prices up in 2014. We're seeing record inflation. So we just really think that it's the right thing to do to allow consumers to know where their beef comes from and allow them to choose. And that is basically the gist of MCool. And we do have a bill now in the Senate, and we hope it will be reintroduced and be either standalone or a part of the Farm Bill to reinstate MCool now that some time's gone by and we've seen what's been going on. And one thing that I failed to mention the last time, I talked about the petition, I talked about the fact that we have the bill now, but we also have the results of a poll that was conducted by Morning Consult, Coalition for a Prosperous America. That's a pro-American production think tank that deals maybe more with manufacturing, but they invite us because we produce beef. They enlisted this poll, and I pulled up the results of that. 86% of American voters support the Beef Labeling Act to reinstate MCool. 90% of voters are concerned that foreign importers of beef can legally put that product to the USA label on the meat. And, there were several different questions asked, but it was a resounding support from American voters. So we really feel going into these Farm Bill talks that we have a good chance of getting MCool back. And that really is just the first common sense step to letting, beef is, it's crazy. Beef is the largest gross receipt product American agriculture puts out. Yes. But boy, getting some competition back in here and some transparency, we face some pretty strong headwinds. There's a lot of people making a lot of money keeping it just the way it is.
Right. Well, when you had first mentioned that, I had no idea about what was kind of going on with that, where you're importing beef from out of country and then, in a way, boxing it up, throwing a USA sticker on it and selling it into the stores as US meat. I could see how that would annoy a lot of people, and not to say that importing beef from somewhere else is a bad thing, but don't label it as American beef if it's not from America. And a lot of people are unaware that was even going on. So I think that just the outreach with it is such an important thing, because like you said, so many people are on board with it. I just feel like there's a lot of people that didn't know what was going on.
I agree.
So, Brett, I have a quick question about MCool before we talk about other things today. And when you talk to consumers, what's their feeling? do they get very concerned right off the bat and say, wait a minute, all my beef is not from the U.S.? And second part of that question would be, the U.S., we produce enough beef to support ourselves, correct? We could be net, we don't have to be importing. We would have enough beef to support what we need right here in the United States, correct?
Not at this moment.
Okay, so how far off are we?
It was in the 1950s, I believe, was the last time that American ranchers produced enough cattle to fulfill domestic consumption. And I would pose it's not because we can't, it's because the system has not been conducive to allowing us American cattlemen to do that. You know, I mean, we live in a world where a lot of people seem upset that they have to get up and go to work, but out here in cattle country, we love what we do. You know, we have work ethic, we have an entrepreneurial spirit, and we love what we do. So really, we just need to recreate an environment in terms of trade that will turn us loose. I mean, I see a sleeping giant out here in the country. I know a lot of kids that you know, maybe their grandpa ranched, their dad didn't want to do it, but these kids have 10, 20 cows. Well, guys, that's an entry-level position into our industry. We need to be doing everything we can to get more of these food producers back onto the land with their families too. You know, I mean, if you don't teach your kids how to work, who's gonna? And you know, that's what I believe in this business.
Well, I think I would agree with you on that too. And you had made that comment, and it's not that we can't be self-producing on beef. It's just that the system isn't quite set up, and we're just not quite there. What, in your opinion, would we need to do or would need to happen to get to that point? And when, if things change, do you think that maybe we could get closer to that point?
Well, I will tell you that MCool, in my mind, it's not the salvation, it's not the cure for every problem in the cattle industry, but it's the most simple, common sense cure that really doesn't hurt anyone. It just lets us compete. You know, as Americans, we're hooked on competition. Our kids are competing in sports from the time they're out of diapers, you know, and all competition really needs to take place is some study of the fundamentals, clear rules, and a referee that keeps everybody playing, and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose, and you know, the same team might play twice back to back, and that might be different. But you know, that's really what we need. Number one is to get some competition in, and then we can go into packers and stockyards enforcement. That's something that I hear from every cattle organization is, why don't we enforce the rules on the books? You know, which over 100 years ago, 5 packers controlled 70% of the kill. Today we're sitting at 4 packers with 85%. So we're actually in tougher shape 100 years down the road than we were when the P&S was put in place.
I see it. And Brett, we're going to hit bottom of the hour here quick, so we're just going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, I want to switch topics to the RFID ear tags and livestock and what you guys are standing for with that. So when Weather and Ag in Focus returns, we're going to talk about the RFID ear tags. And if you want to join in on the conversation, ask a question, or you have a question about what we just talked about, feel free. We encourage you. Reach out to us. 701-293-9000 is the phone number to connect to our studio. Again, that's 701-293-9000. Don't go anywhere. Weather and Ag in Focus. We'll be right back.
Your new one-stop shop for the latest in news, weather, sports, and community happenings is WDAYRadioNow.com. Stay up to date online, on your phone, on the go. Interviews with newsmakers, all your favorite local shows on demand, for those days when you don't want to miss anything. Get your forecast so you're always in the know when it comes to the weather, and find information on shows and personalities. If it's happening now, it's happening on WDAYRadioNow.com. That's WDAYRadioNow.com.
Do you have money in the bank or the stock market? Do you check the balance often? Why wouldn't you do the same for your biggest asset, your home? If you want to know right now what you could sell your home for in this hot market, go to FargoHomeValues.com. Type in any address and find out instantly. You might be surprised how much you could get for your home. Again, that website is FargoHomeValues.com, or call me, John Nosala, for a personal valuation. Find out more at jkpropertypartners.com.
It's Jane Ronnie from the Coffee Club, and we love MyPillow. We absolutely love the Giza Dream Sheets, made with the world's best cotton, grown only in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. Its long staple cotton makes it ultra soft and breathable.
Yeah, let me tell you, this 400 thread count, they are fantastic sheets. They are warm when you need to be warm. They are cool when you need to have very thin layer between you and the mattress. It is a fantastic sleep with Giza Dream Sheets. 60-day money-back guarantee, machine washable and durable, and a 10-year warranty.
Available in multiple colors, styles, and sizes. All right now for a great low price of $29.99 with promo code WDAY. All you need to do is go to MyPillow.com, go to Listener Radio Special Box, put in the promo code WDAY. MyPillow.com, go to Listener Radio Special Box, put in the promo code WDAY.
Promo code WDAY.
I'm Tamron Hall. Why give your family just ordinary eggs when they can enjoy the best? Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition compared to ordinary eggs. With 6 times more vitamin D, 10 times more vitamin E, 25% less saturated fat, and 38% more lutein. Because the way we care is anything but ordinary. Only Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Gah, I'm so stressed about my business not being ready for the holidays.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending the Ooma cloud phone system with auto attendant and more than 35 features.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Starts at $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
Dell Technologies' Days of Deals for Business start now with fresh, limited quantity deals on tech to drive productivity. Save on select performance laptops and desktops powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors. Don't forget special pricing on the latest monitors, docks, and accessories, plus free shipping on everything, and special financing with Dell Business Credit. Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Hey, Chris Berg here. Radio personalities like myself, we spend a ton of time and energy during the day, obviously in front of the computer. We're looking for news stories for you, talking to callers. So when the day is finally over, I get to go home and crawl into my Comfort King excited because I know I'm going to get a great night's sleep. At Comfort King Mattress Factory, they build a mattress just for you. That's what they do. Comfort King has the only lifetime comfort guarantee. So buy local and shop Comfort King Mattress Factory.
Welcome to WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. So glad that you are here joining myself, Bridgette Readel, Ag Director, and our meteorologist extraordinaire, Justin Storm. Our guest today is Brett Kenzy. Brett is the national president of RCAF USA. He's in South Dakota. He's a rancher down there, and we were asking him some questions about all things that matter in RCAF and, frankly, to a lot of the ranchers in our region. So, Brett, I saw the headline that RCAF is urging the USDA not to tie RFID ear tags, which would be the radio frequency ID ear tags, to the livestock indemnity regulations. Let's break that down and explain, what does that headline all mean? How about if you help me understand it, and then let's make it easier for everybody else too.
Well, the RFID story is quite a story. It begins some years ago. In terms of animal identification, there are several acceptable ways to identify an animal for interstate transport. Back tags, steel bangs clips, brands, and there's other ways as well. And that's been the law of the land for a long time. but I don't remember if it was the last Farm Bill or maybe even previous to that, but with the advent of EID technology, which is, I wish that I had one here. An interesting story that I won't sidetrack us onto is we use them on our ranch. I'm not afraid of the technology.
We like your sidetrack stories. We like your sidetrack technology stories, Brett. That's totally okay. Don't be shy about that. Okay.
Don't egg me on. I tend to run on my own the way it is. But anyway, there's been a push before to make electronic identification tied to your premise. You would have to register your ranch as a premise number. There's been a push before. We pushed it back, 5-10 years ago, whatever it was. But then here recently, there's been another real dedicated, strong push to mandate electronic identification and to only approve of electronic EID tags for interstate transport of breeding age livestock. And that was supposed to go into effect in January of 23, if memory serves me correct. But RCAF, we took exception to that because, number one, it's expensive. Number two, it kind of turns into an invasion of privacy to have to register all of these animals. And so we pushed back on it, and there were meetings that were held of stakeholders within the industry, and then suddenly some of the people who weren't in favor of mandatory ID quit being invited to these meetings. So through a series of legal proceedings led by Harriet Hageman of the New Civil Liberties Alliance, that's a group of lawyers that deal specifically with government overreach, they sued or took USDA to court, and the mandate was thrown out. And then there's been some follow-up legal happenings about the way that the meetings were held, and that litigation is ongoing. But here's, I guess the bullet point is this is something that RCAF fought, a decade ago. Now we're fighting it again. We pushed it back for now, but we're not going to beat our chest, because if you remember one thing that I tell you today, it's the fact that this is not going away, because there's a lot of money involved. I mean, you take $2 or $3 per tag times 30 million head of cows, that's a lot of money. And I think that if there's a mandate on the cows, it won't be very long, and it will be on the calves. And that really multiplies into a lot of money, not to mention the control. So then you take into this most recent press release that you were speaking of, USDA keeps trying to backdoor this mandatory ID thing in there by catching that to get these livestock indemnity payments, which is when there's a disaster, there's a process where a rancher can receive some money from the government for livestock that perished due to that disaster. And I mean, here we go again. So we drew exception to that language because we've pushed back that mandatory ID mandate. To make this relatable to the general public, I think there are good things about EID tags and there are bad things. I use EID tags every day on my ranch to capture data, to track cattle. But the important thing is that is my data for me to sell and for me to disclose. Now, some people would come at me and say, what are you hiding, Brett? Why don't you want to put these in and let everybody know? Well, I'm also in a brand inspect area, and I have been my entire life. There's an indelible mark on every animal that comes off this ranch. Those animals are sold in a public auction. I'm not hiding anything. But once that animal leaves my possession, the liability for anything that will occur to that animal should be lifted from me as well, because I can't control what the next guy does or the next feedlot or whatever. There's just several things. And for the average person to relate it to themselves, there could be a good argument made for putting a microchip in your children. But anonymity has value. Innocent
Okay,
until
so
proven guilty, right? So ask some questions. What?
Well, I was going to go and say, could you make the analogy that this is kind of similar to, you had said, this is my data, I get to choose what I want to do with it, it doesn't just go to you. Could you make the analogy that this is kind of similar to smartphones between like Apple and Android phones, where Apple will not disclose the information that's yours to third-party companies or government agencies unless there's a warrant to do so or something like that, whereas in Google, the Android phones, that data
is almost dead because I used it to load feed all morning. These privacy and data issues are coming. Artificial intelligence is coming. If we talk about, say, Bridgette has a headset on right now. If we would talk about the brand of headset that's on her head, chances are really good that when we're looking at Facebook tonight as we fall asleep, an ad for that brand of headset is going to come up. And I know I'm getting off subject of EID tags.
But it will, Brett. You're exactly right. It will. That's the way data works. And you present just part of a larger issue in agriculture right now. Who owns the data? That's an ongoing discussion, whether you're in livestock or whether you're grain farming, because all the information that you plug into your tractors and your combines about yield, about your inputs, etc., that data is being stored somewhere. Who owns it? You as the farmer and producer, or that person who owns the software and the hardware that you're using? And that's essentially where you're at right now in an agricultural situation with the livestock and these ear tags. Would that be correct?
That's the way I look at it. Yes. And
okay. Very fair.
I don't want to run us completely off subject, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention, I don't know if you guys have followed what's going on in the Netherlands, where farmers are being offered for the government to buy them out, and farmers who reject that are being told how to farm, and some are maybe going to be forcibly ejected. I heard one ag commentator this morning say how, this could be really good because if they put them out of business, that's going to be a market for us. That's not a market I want. If you're a good human being, you don't want to see people starve so you can make a buck. But that's what I tie the EID tags to, is what you can measure, you can manage. And I firmly believe that the government, our $30 trillion in debt government, wants to manage me closer and my place closer. And I think that is the ultimate push behind this.
And Brett, you talked about what's happening in the Netherlands, and we've mentioned that on this show several times before, all of the change that's happening over there. And you're right, it's happening fast. It's happening for ways that those involved can't control, whether you're at the farm and even certain portions of government, because it's really being pushed by quite the larger agenda. So, when we talk with our guests, I would honestly tell you that oftentimes we get more questions than we have answers to, but that's why we like having guys like you on, Brett, because you help us to investigate what's really going on all around agriculture. And Justin and I aren't here to be biased. We're here to present information so those who are listening, whether you're a consumer or an agriculturalist, can learn more every single time. So we greatly appreciate all of the things that you are talking about.
Yeah, we really do. And Brett, would you be able to hang on a little bit longer? Has your iPad got enough battery in it to last a few more minutes after the next break?
I know. I'll give the windmill a spin here. I'll see if I can find a better charger, and then we'll be good. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know that Bridgette probably has another couple questions, and we'll just see where that leads. But we're going to take a short moment here, get updated from the American Ag Network, and when we return, we'll continue and conclude our conversation with Brett Kenzy, National President of RCAF USA. And again, if you have a quick question you want to get in, give us a phone call. We'll have a few more minutes with Brett, 701-293-9000. Weather and Ag in Focus will return.
You heard the news that Twitter censored conservatives big time. They also suppressed information about Hunter Biden's laptop. Now Eric Bolling is on Newsmax, exposing Twitter's war on President Trump. Tune in tonight to watch Eric Bolling, The Balance, for news you need to know. And make sure you vote in Newsmax urgent poll. Do you want Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis as your candidate in 2024? Newsmax wants to know what you think. Vote in the Newsmax poll on Trump versus DeSantis. Just text the word ZONE to 39747. That's ZONE to 39747. Let your voice be heard. I tune into Newsmax for news I can trust. And remember, vote in Newsmax poll on Trump versus DeSantis. Text ZONE to 39747. That's ZONE to 39747. And make the switch to Newsmax. I did. You'll love it.
Don't have a blue Christmas this year? Gather up the family, hop in the car, and go see the holiday lights at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds. A drive-through light show that everyone will enjoy, and this year's show is bigger and better than ever. Buy your tickets online and save. The holiday lights will run through the holiday season until New Year's Eve. Make this a holly jolly Christmas with a visit to the holiday lights at the Red River Valley Fairgrounds and start a magical holiday tradition. Brought to you by Christmas Decor and Cass County Electric.
Food, football, and fun in the fall. Tailgaters brings it all together with their all-you-can-eat lunch buffet from 11 to 2 weekdays, or dinner and a nice cold beverage after work. Tailgaters is the place. There's no better place to watch football on Saturday and Sunday, and every game day you get their never-frozen, fresh-made half-pound burgers with fries for just $10.99. Domestic pints and bottles just $4, and live music this Friday night at 7 with Mike Morse live at Tailgaters. Corner of Main and University, downtown Fargo. Tailgaters.
Soybeans at Bean Meal find strength again on Thursday. This is the American Ag Network of Jesse Allen with this closing market update. Well, fairly quiet trading seen on Thursday ahead of Friday's December WASDE report from USDA. Soybeans and meal did get a good boost, though, on the session with a 30.7 million bushel sale of beans to China and unknown, which the trade assumes to be China. Strong weekly export sales again for the soy complex, and that all helped us get some moderate strength in beans and meal on the day. On Thursday, corn just right around unchanged. Wheat futures, a bit of a drag on corn, moving a little bit lower as the trade really, again, just marking time ahead of the December WASDE report coming up tomorrow, and also ahead of next week's Federal Reserve meeting where we expect a 50 basis point rate hike. Livestock trade, cattle futures found some great support, especially the feeder cattle trade on the day, while the hog market found pressure. Maybe a little bit of spread trading between cattle and hogs seen on the day on Thursday. Thursday's final numbers: cord for March up 1 1/4, 642.5. July cord up 1, 640 3/4. January beans up 14 1/4, 1486 1/4. March up 13 at 1490 1/4. January bean meal up 740 a ton, 466.40. January bean oil up 35 points, 61.31. March Chicago wheat 3 1/4 lower, 746 1/4. May down 3 1/2, 756 1/4. March Kansas City wheat 4 lower, 844 3/4. Spring wheat March up 9 1/4, 911 1/4. July spring wheat up 2 1/2, 905 3/4. December hogs down 37, 82 even. February down 195, 84.70. January feeder cattle up 257, 183.47. March up 180 at 185.05. Live cattle December up 50, 152.42. February up 37, 153.92. April limes up 42, 158.05. This is the American Ag Network. I'm Jesse Allen.
And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us. 151 this afternoon. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm here with Ag Director Bridgette Readel. I almost said Dean Wysocki. Too bad he's not here. He would have loved this conversation. And we're also joined with RCAF USA National President Brett Kenzy, and we've been talking about the RFID, or the radio frequency identification ear tags for livestock, and the indemnity regulations. Man, that one's a tough one to spit out. But you know, Brett, you and your organization has kind of put your foot down on where you stand with the whole RFID ear tags and the data, where it belongs, where it should go. But for people outside of RCAF, what are you hearing from the other cattle and ranchers out there? Where do they stand on this? What do they feel about the whole RFID ear tags?
I guess in terms of what I hear from independent cattlemen is they stand with us. The industry, that's what I'll call it, the industry, you know, the beef industry, the the concentrated industry that we find ourselves at odds with often, they, of course, this is all pushed under the guise of animal health, disease traceability. But I'll tell you, if you have X resources to spend on trying to prevent an infectious disease outbreak in this country, RFID is meant to be a control mechanism after the fact. But, you know, I've learned a lot here in the last year about, say, foot and mouth disease. North America is the last continent on Earth that is truly free, and that means we have no cases of foot and mouth disease on the North American continent. All the other countries in the world, all the other continents in the world, countries, we import beef from over 20 countries, they are foot and mouth disease free with vaccination. Because let's say we would, another problem that I have with USDA is they've recently allowed fresh beef imports from Brazil. Now, Brazil is considered regionally foot and mouth disease free with vaccination, and I believe that means that certain regions of Brazil have foot and mouth disease. That meat is not acceptable to export. Other regions are foot and mouth disease free with vaccination. That meat, they're letting that fresh meat come over, but importantly, the only boundaries between those regions are, say, a mountain range or a river or a natural boundary that creates a different region. Well, wildlife can carry foot and mouth disease too. So I would say that if we really want to have a serious talk as an industry about disease control, it needs to be on prevention and not merely after the fact regionalization, trying to contain it. Because, you know, I've heard estimates that at any given moment of any given day, there's 250,000 to 1 million head of livestock on the road in the United States. So, I mean, we are so mobile now that I just believe that any kind of back trace on a highly infectious disease like foot and mouth disease, you can have all the identification you want. It's going to be everywhere. You know, the last time we had a foot and mouth disease outbreak in this country, I think, was in the 1920s, and it came in garbage off the west coast of the United States. And I don't know a lot about, I just know that traditionally, I know that in Europe they had kill zones. The last time they had foot and mouth disease, they eradicated it, but they had kill zones. I remember reading an article about a 40 by 70 mile kill zone where they killed not only all the cattle, any cloven-hoofed animals. So, I mean, the deer, the goats, everything, sheep. And we don't want to get into that. So that's the people, they're going to say that we're going to hinder the ability to trace these diseases. I don't buy that. I think that that's a good sales pitch, but it's not a good enough reason to impose such a costly and invasion of privacy issues such as these mandatory ID programs.
Right, I see. And Brett, we just got about a minute or two here left of our show, but if anyone listening wants to get more information on what we've been talking about throughout today, our last interview, where can they go to get more information, to maybe get in contact with RCAF, and what can people do to help voice, you know, what you guys are trying to do to help push those things forward?
Well, probably the easiest one to remember is www.r-cafusa.com. That's our website. There you can link up. You can find my contact info or anybody else's. We're on all the social media platforms. And, you know, my personal email account is kenzyranch@yahoo.com. You know, really easy, all lowercase, or it's not case sensitive altogether, kenzyranch@yahoo.com. And I enjoy hearing from people that disagree with me as much as the people who agree with me, because I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm just smart enough to know that we need to have these conversations and work on some of these issues, especially going into the farm bill.
Definitely. Right.
Oh yeah,
that's
the farm bill's going to
that's
matter
a
much.
big conversation itself. Well, Brett, I want to thank you very much for joining us here on Weather and Ag in Focus again, and maybe we can have you on again sometime down the road. But we want to wish you a happy holidays and New Year's, and hope everything goes well for you down there in South Dakota this winter.
Share a little moisture, guys. I've got bags under my eyes from all the dust. So get us some more.
Hey, we got a little on the way next week for you guys. It looks like you might be looking at some good snow across the region. So hopefully that gets some good moisture into the ground when that begins to melt. So we're actually going to take a look at that forecast right now before we get on out of here. And not too bad out there today here in Fargo. A little sunshine, wind not bad. Temperatures on the teens will reach close to about 20 today with a south wind 5 to 15. Overnight down to a low of 2 briefly, but warming temperatures into the teens overnight with cloudy skies. A little breezier on Friday. A 10 to 20 mile per hour wind out of the southeast is going to exist with mostly cloudy to partly sunny conditions. And for Saturday, an isolated flurry or an isolated pocket of a wintry mix is going to be possible. We'll have temperatures in the lower 30s, right around the freezing mark with light wind. Otherwise, it's just going to stay partly sunny to mostly cloudy, and very similar for your Sunday, just minus the chance for those flurries. Mostly cloudy, lower 30s. We're all talking about this big maybe storm next week. Right now, still looks like it's targeting eastern North Dakota. If it stays on the current track and intensity, it could bring some very significant snowfall to the area, along with some strong winds. I'll take a bigger look at that coming up here on the Jay Thomas Show at about 2:06 when that starts. But that's going to do it for us here on Weather and Ag in Focus. Thank you again for joining us today. And remember, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube, Weather and Ag in Focus, where we live stream our episodes every single day, Monday through Friday. You can follow us there, and you can find all of our past guests and watch those if you do feel like it. So from Bridgette and me, we wish you a good rest of your afternoon, and the Jay Thomas Show will be coming up here next.
970 WDAY AM and 93.9